So The Yellow Palm by Robert Mihnik, possibly, is a poem about himself walking down Palatine Street in Baghdad. Now this is a man who is not a native of that country. Like a lot of people, he observed Baghdad, Iraq, through the TV screen and would have seen an awful lot of destruction and conflict. To actually be there would be like going into that, through that screen, into a different world, and taking those images with you at the same time as seeing images fresh and seeing the effect of violence, of conflict on that country. So he presents it in a detached manner. It's in the first person, but he doesn't make any real connections with people other than on a superficial level. He isn't imagining being Iraqi and what it's like. He is actually looking at it from the outside in. So what does he see? He sees an awful lot of violence and distressing images. But at the same time, he sees an awful lot of beautiful, peaceful images. And if you just look at the language to start with, it's clear to see that contrast. For example, lilac stems is in the same stanza as poison gas. And if you look at the lines around poison gas, you have a coffin made of glass, the face of a man who lay within, who had breathed a poison gas. So this image is disturbing. You don't need to have any biological understanding to realise that poison gas is a bad thing. A coffin made of glass suggests fragility of the person within it, of all of us, but it's also it's a fragile subject. It's also a very aggressive material, and to juxtapose that with lilac stems, something natural, something beautiful, shows the conflict of this place, the contrast, the complexity of this place, that it has suffered so much, but there's still beauty there, and that nature struggles to exist, it does exist despite man's best efforts to destroy it. And there are further examples of this. In the second stanza we have the Golden Mosque, and he heard the call to prayer. So it's not just what he sees, it's also what he hears. And the call to prayer, you could say, is quite a beautiful thing. It's very evocative. The Golden Mosque doesn't need any explanation of the word golden, but the mosque is obviously a religious and cultural centre point. It's important, it's precious, it's man-made, but it means something. To watch the faithful there, but there was blood on the walls. So again, you've got that juxtaposition of the beautiful and the disturbing in the same stanza. And then we get, again in the next stanza, two blind beggars, which throws up a whole load of questions as to who they are, why are they blind, why are they begging. And you get a little bit of interaction. I press my hand with 100 black dinars, and their salutes were those of the Imperial Guard in the mother of all wars, which is a reference to Saddam Hussein and the guard that protected him. These people are now blind. What happened to them? Were they blinded purposefully? It just leaves a lot of questions, and it adds to the idea that he is a foreigner looking at something he doesn't really understand. From the point of view of form, this is a ballad. It it's a process, it's a procession even through the street in Baghdad, down Palestine Street. And the nature of it being a ballad imitates that journey, that narrative from beginning to end. And the fact that ballads have this very regular rhyme scheme, AB, CB, DB, where we have pass, glass and gas, it gives it that rhythm. It gives it a sense of tempo almost, of strolling down and observing, not really stopping to investigate and find out, but that sense that there are things to see, but not necessarily time to understand them. From a structural point of view, is a very clear sense that it isn't until you get to the final stanzas that there's a real positivity, a real sense of what could be, and this is exemplified with the use of the child, which is similar to other poems. The idea of innocence. If you think about the right word, a child should be unblemished. The fact that the child blessed the silver caravan on its slow and silver mile, and a beggar child turned up his face and blessed it with a smile. Now the cruise missiles reference to something in the past, but it gives the child, by blessing it with a smile, it gives the child a sense of being sacred, of being important, of something for the future. And he carries on, as I made my way down Palestine Street under the yellow palms, I saw their branches hung with yellow dates. What promise there is there. It's a clear metaphorical reference to product and producing children, of producing something that could take this country out of its moment of conflict and despair into something else, given the right circumstances. And when that same child reached up to touch, the fruit fell in his arms, a bounty, something that should occur naturally. And the fact is, the other stanzas talk about what he sees and hears as being the consequences of man-made actions, of rivalries, of jealousies, of all the stuff that creates conflict. So we have humanity as a violent organism, and we have nature, which can be violent, but is less so. It serves a purpose. We are able to take from it and give back to it, but we too often abuse it. From a language perspective, there are some great, excellent things. Some of the verbs are really important. So on the first line, he makes his way. On the second line, he watches, he hears, he meets, he smells, he sees, and he sees again. Okay, so we get this sense of him being apart. So the method he's using here is distance, perspective. But then we also get different verbs throughout. So we have women waving. We have the sense he stopped to watch. We have salutes, which are very evocative action. We have the blessing down here, which again, when you think about the Golden Mosque and you think about the nature of this place, the history of this place, verbs are incredibly important in telling us, in showing us what is going on. So in general terms, we've got the contrast between what is natural and what is imposed on nature by humanity. We've got the contrast in language between the beautiful and the grotesque. We've got the transition from destruction in the first 4 stanzas to the promise of the future in the final 2 stanzas. So to compare this to other poems, we're talking about divided society in The Right Word and Belfast Confetti. The fact that society, unless it is united, there will be conflict. There's helplessness of people, of the blind people, which can be seen in futility and out of the blue. The effect of conflict on individuals and how wars and conflicts ruin and take lives. So the final point, this is about people. The Right Word is about people. Belfast Confetti is about people, and it's about the consequences of conflict on those people.